Hey everyone, I'm Lucy, your host for Start the Conversation, a series dedicated to shining a light on building the future of your community with neurodiversity in mind. Each episode will bring you conversations with inspiring individuals who are making a significant impact in their fields, from neurodiversity in sports to creating inclusive work environments. Our aim is to educate, inspire, and empower our listeners to make a difference. So sit back, relax, and join us as we start the conversation. Hi, it's Lucy here. I'm talking about neurodiversity in parent carer forums today. And I brought with me a few guests who are all from Bath and North East Somerset Parent Carer Forum, or for short, BANES Parent Carer Forum. I do prefer BANES, I must admit. Rachel, hello. BANES is much easier to say than the full title. But hey, I've got Rachel and Roxy with me online, and we're going to have a chat about how neurodiversity shows up in parent carer forums and how we can support our parents, our staff, our members, and what that might look like for you. So we've got Roxy, Tonya, and Rachel online here today. Can I start by asking my first question to you guys? How does neurodiversity show up in BANES Parent Carer Forum?
There's an awful lot of it.
In what way? With staff? With members?
Yeah, with staff, with members, with the children of members.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of us, staff and volunteer-wise, are parents of neurodivergent children, and particularly the women are getting late diagnoses of often ADHD and sometimes autism. I don't think any of us are surprised, but I think a lot of us are part of a generation where girls didn't get diagnosed and women didn't get diagnosed.
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
also because they say neurodiversity quite a lot of the time it's hereditary, so it's obviously come from somewhere. We're a forum that's run by parent carers.
Go figure.
For parent carers.
I spent enough years denying that I'm neurodivergent and thinking, no, I'm not. I'm neurotypical. And then that was after my children were diagnosed. And then we've looked at my mum and gone, Mum, we think you are. Well, has it skipped a generation? Really? Can you show me? And we also find, I think, with women in particular, menopause is a part of our life when actually the changes in our brains and differences in our brains can really explode. Is that something you notice in the forum?
I noticed myself.
We have, and it's to do with hormonal changes, isn't it? I think those of us that have got autistic traits have kind of got to grips with it and got our strategies in, and then perimenopause comes along and you suddenly realise you're spending most of your time dysregulated or bouncing off walls.
Oh, God.
The chaos increases.
Yes. Yeah. And you just can't control it with the estrogen and the progesterone, and it all disappears, goes to other places. I've got a brilliant webinar about that on another time, and I'll talk to you about that another time. So going back to how things show up in your forum, in terms of members, do you have data around the children perhaps and the young people around how many people are caring for neurodivergent children?
We're beginning to collect that data. We've recently gone to a new database. We know from the people that turn up to events and the kind of events that we put on, and from the demographics of BANES, which is a lot easier to say and to write on forms than Bath and North East Somerset. Really. That we do have a high prevalence of neurodivergency within the authority.
Yeah.
We also have a lot of universities around it, quite often see that correlation.
Oh, gosh, yes. I think those areas where you've got universities, particularly research-based universities, and then industries in the area that bring in engineering, cyber, tech, those kind of subjects that bring a certain type of brain, and you'll see more neurodivergent children within those communities. Have any of you read Neurotribes by Steve Silverman. I'm going to recommend it as a book. Okay. So Steve Silverman sadly passed away fairly recently, actually, wrote a book called Neurotribes. And he started this book by looking at Silicon Valley.
You're used to living in it.
There we go. There we go. And his premise of the book is about, hey, there's quite a few neurodivergent and particularly autistic children within Silicon Valley. Where's this coming from? And then he looked at the parents and he kind of went, oh. And so it's very, very useful book to read. Very good book to read. I'd highly recommend it. So in terms of thinking about neurodiversity and how it shows up in your forum, parents who are coming along, for instance, to the first time to a forum or first time to a meeting, who have just realized or just been told that their child might be autistic, ADHD, how do you see how those parents feel within the forums and when they turn up like that? Do you see them feeling scared? Do you see them feeling anxious, worried about what next? What does this all mean for us?
I think there's a combination. Sometimes you get that, I think, because of the length of waiting lists and the difficulties a lot of our kids have before they get diagnosed. For a lot of families, there's a sense of relief when the diagnosis is given, because in this area, there's still one of the support services is diagnostic based. So you can't access the support in your school unless there's an autism diagnosis.
And so that kind of puts them on the back foot. That's a massive challenge, isn't it? A massive challenge, because they feel they can't access services. They're not getting the support. There's a trauma going on there for those families.
Yeah, well, we know that a huge amount of parent carers end up with complex PTSD. There's loads of research around it. And I think Roxy and Tonya are good to talk about when people come to the cafes, because they run those cafes. We try and make sure that all our information on our website is as accessible as possible. So we try not to be too wordy. We use bullet points. We use a lot of visuals, because actually what works for children works for parents.
Yeah.
And what works for neurodivergent people will work for neurotypical ones as well. So if you base everything around that, then you're covering everyone.
Quite often when parents come into the cafes, especially for the first time, they're usually quite anxious because they don't know what to expect, but they've been waiting for ages on waiting lists, and then they've got this diagnosis and they're kind of like, off you go. There you go. Your child's autistic. Child's got ADHD. Here's a leaflet.
Yeah.
And that's it. So they don't really know. They're kind of like entering an almost new path they didn't expect that they were going to be on. I think as well, they can be overwhelmed with agencies involved. And I know I do, and Karen, who does the cafes with me, try and make it a place for people to come and talk and just offload, and then we can signpost to wherever we think is appropriate. But it's just really a welcoming place where everyone's in the same boat and everyone gets it.
It's a lifesaver. I know I joined a forum in South Gloss when my children, my eldest was first diagnosed, and I know how that feels. Again, another recommendation. I hope maybe you haven't, I don't know. The poem Welcome to Holland.
I hate poem.
Yeah. But it is true. The like, the way it's what it means is very true. I think I said to Rachel not long ago, like, I sometimes feel down because as you're growing up, you expect your life to go a certain way and you want it to be that way, and that's what you think it's going to be like, and then it doesn't end up being like that, and you think, what did I do anything for it to not go that way? Did I do something wrong? So but I think as well, the amount of agencies that you can have involved with you with an assessment or such like, or anything really to do with your children, that can be so overwhelming. You just get burnout and you're just exhausted, want to vent.
Totally.
I think as well, when they talk about stages of grief, about your life not going as you want. I think you get to the angry part as well, and you have to support people through that anger as well as through everything else, because there's nothing wrong with our children and there's nothing wrong with us. There's something wrong with a society that can't accept everybody for who they are. I know one of the autism support workers in this area really well, and he once said, well, who do you think invented fire if it wasn't an autistic person? Because who else would have sat there going, right, something's going to happen if I do this long enough?
Exactly.
Loads of strengths. Our kids have got loads of strengths. We've got a system that's disabling them. It's not their diagnosis that disables them.
Yeah. And that brings me to my next question then, around what barriers do you see maybe from stakeholders that we work with in parent carer forums? And this isn't just about those young people and the children that we're caring for, but it's also about our teams and the parents and the people we engage with. What barriers do you see for neurodivergent staff and members?
Not getting preparation in advance of a meeting, not having an agenda, not having documentation in time to read it and process it. That's huge. Being expected to sit on an online meeting for 2 hours without there being any breaks. And actually, I have to say, there's some really good stakeholders around. I do quite a lot of the online meetings within social care and within the integrated care board, who are really good at putting breaks in.
Brilliant.
It's really appreciated. Too much talk and not enough bullet pointing. There's only so long you can listen to waffle.
I think that's good advice for every meeting. That's not about neurodivergent people. That's like, let's run a good meeting and let's get to the point and move forward.
And a big thing that I know parents often talk about is having meetings where afterwards there's nothing put in writing.
Yeah,
So people will say, well, we told you. It's like, yeah, you talked at me for an hour. My perception might not be the same as yours. Could you just follow up with some notes?
Yeah. Yeah. And in the meetings that you go to, are you able to record those meetings? Can you have note takers and those kind of things in those meetings? Because I have various experiences of places where you can, and then other places where they say, no, we don't let that happen.
I've never asked, partly because I'm really rubbish with technology.
But the idea, for instance, and so this is a top tip, is if you can use an AI note taker, if that can be there, that can summarize, save, and pick straight out to everybody who attended the meeting. You get a transcript, you get the bullet points. Absolutely. Like, it's a game changer.
Our local authority is beginning to use, as well as using Copilot, they also use Magic Notes, which I think it comes from social care initially.
I'm going to make a note of Magic Notes.
Which is a really good one because it summarizes meetings. It recognizes who's talking.
Yeah.
But they're also beginning to use, I want to say it's Zoom or something. They're also beginning to take notes and be able to send transcripts out of conversations they have on the phones with parents, where parents call in. And
fantastic.
That's really positive.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that extra processing time and being able to read something for some people can be really helpful, or being able to listen to it over again. Tonya, is there anything you'd add there around barriers and challenges that you see?
I think I find it difficult personally when I'm trying to speak to my child's teacher, for instance. They're all hidden behind doors. There's no real, you can't just go and talk. If I got something in my head that I need to tell you, I need to tell you straight away. Otherwise, it's just
going to
go. So that sort of like I find difficult. And I think sometimes with like schools or even doctor surgeries, that sort of understanding of neurodiversity as well. Like it's just understanding and appreciating that people learn different ways or do things different ways. And you can go to a doctor's surgery and sitting in the waiting room and you've got to be dead silent and, sit still, behave, and I get that you're supposed to be poorly and things like that. There's other reasons why you go to the doctor,
Yes.
And they can't
just
have
going for a blood
toys.
test and I'm not unwell. Yeah.
And they can't have toys and you can't have books because of infection control. So there needs to be something there that's for children.
That's a really interesting point. I like that. Yeah.
In like schools, I find some schools are okay with additional needs. Some schools not so much unless it's a visible disability. Yeah, I mean, I know so a lot of Senkos are usually very good. It's getting their message across to the rest of the classes, isn't it?
They're just on Senko, aren't they?
Yeah.
And traditionally, I think teachers in general will have something like 1 day training in
Yeah.
SEND in their postgraduate courses. If they're in their teacher training, it's probably not enough at the moment.
But just think if somewhere like Tesco's can provide your child with free fruit to go round the shop and sort of like occupy themselves because there's food everywhere and they suddenly feel starving, they're getting something in place. It's just a poor show that a medical facility isn't able to do.
That's a really
They're
interesting
supposed to
one.
be
Yeah,
understanding.
that's really thoughtful. Yeah.
And I think part of the problem is the lack of consistency.
Yeah.
Actually, there's some really good practice out there these days, but it's not consistent. And we're the first to admit we don't always get it right either.
Mm-hmm.
We do try, and we are always happy to take on suggestions, and we will try and be as inclusive. One of the things we always say is we'll be as flexible and creative as you need us to be. So don't assume because we do something one way, we'll always do it that way. If there's a better way for you, we're quite happy to do it. We just might not have thought of it yet.
I don't think you can ask for any more than that, actually. That's such a brilliant approach. And we've mentioned, and I can't remember whether we mentioned online or offline, because we had a good old chat beforehand. From your forum, lots of neurodivergent people in your forum, your staff, mostly neurodivergent?
Yeah. Absolutely.
What you're trying to imply?
We're organised when then Tanya had to come in and pick up my interesting filing system.
Okie dokie.
She's being
She had one.
really polite. I think she might argue that I didn't have one.
No.
Fair enough.
It's done.
Actually leans into within our teams, we all work differently, and we need different brains in order to do a good job and work as a high performing team. So what can we do to reduce some of the barriers that we have in our teams where there might be challenges and things that might happen in our forums? What could we do to reduce some of those challenges and bring some of the barriers down for neurodivergent team members?
I think honesty and transparency and making it a safe place for people to say. I would hope that if anybody is uncomfortable with something, they would feel confident to say, because they know that none of us would make judgments. We'd all just go, "Oh, really sorry, my brain doesn't work that way, so it didn't occur to me."
I like that.
And then see what we could do, because there's no right or wrong way. Just because it's being done one way just means it's the way that works for the person that's doing it. The only thing I would say is, make sure you demonstrate output in some way, but how you get to the output is entirely up to you, and how you manage your time, as long as it fits in with everybody else, as long as if there are deadlines, the deadlines are met. How you do what you need to do, you do it in the way that works for you.
I get you. Tanya, is there anything you'd add there?
I think just understanding that and I think in general in adult work life that everybody's coping with something or other, so just understanding that other people, especially in the forum, are likely to be neurodiverse. I just have patience because people are so patient with me. There's days I can be really slow and a bit flaky, and then there's days when I'm working as hard as I can. If Rachel's a bit like, whoa, all these messages coming in. Because I'm on fire, Rachel. I need to get it down. But I need to get it done.
Absolutely. And you have to have confidence, and you have to be able to trust the people you're working with. Where it goes wrong is when somebody doesn't do that. And that can be really, I'm trying to think of a polite way of saying it. Sometimes it's the neurotypical people that make it a bit more difficult.
I have another job as well as the Parent Care Forum, and a lot of the actual night staff that I work with in clinic are neurodiverse, and I think that's quite common for the night team to be
Yeah.
neurodiverse. There's less people, and we can just crack on and look after the animals. But then we have got a selection of day team as well, and I can come in after having a week off, and all of the drawers have changed, and the label printers. And I got 2 homes, and I'm like, there's no rhyme or reason for it in my mind, and everything's been there for the last 3 years. Why are you moving stuff? Don't do it. And I will internally lose
Scream.
it and rip the labels off and put everything back to where it was. But then I send out a nice email, just like, I'm really sorry, I struggle with that change, and I am just open, and everyone just knows, oh, don't move stuff around because Tonya get upset, and she's never nasty, but she struggles with the things moving about. If you're going to move stuff, you need to tell
That's
her
a
where it is.
really good example of something that other people would think is really minimal. And it's like, well, I just want to change it. This is better. But having not explained it to you, having not given you the rationale,
Yeah,
for you, it doesn't make sense. And I need to put it back because otherwise it's just going to make you rage. And
actually, the day team are lovely to me because if there's been decorating or stuff's has been moved in the area that I'm working in, they'll send me a picture.
oh, that's
Before I
brilliant.
go in, so I know,
Yeah.
well, yeah, I like that. And I can get, instead of walking in and
your
going,
head
oh
around
my
it.
God,
Yeah.
I'm not expecting.
It's a shock to the system.
Yeah.
So I'm going to round off with one last question, which is, have you got any top tips for working with neurodivergent team members and or supporting neurodivergent forum members? So what are your top tips?
Don't make assumptions and don't make judgments,
Mm.
and ask people what they need, but don't do it in a demanding kind of way, because then
Yeah,
the
come on, what do you need?
It's okay.
Tell me what you need.
I think an interest in what makes them tick helps as well. Like, oh, why do you like it then? Or do you know what I mean? Just try and be understanding. Try and understand your team members.
Yeah. The empathy, the understanding.
And be confident in yourself. So I think as a forum, we're all really open about our own strengths and weaknesses. Weaknesses is a rubbish word, but I think because we try and model that, it means it's okay for other people as well. I work in complete chaos. My filing system is non-existent. My brain works really.
Tanya's nodding.
I don't know, Tanya's nodding. So I've got strengths there. I am hopeless when it comes to anything visual or anything organized, but I'm really open about that because then hopefully other people can be open if they've got difficulties.
Mm.
And then I come in and I sort out the bookcase and made it look all lovely so I could find everything. And Rachel's like, oh, I really like it.
Nicely kind of coordinated. Yes.
I think that's a good, we've got things going for us, and we end up having a great team because we're all good at some point in the charity, aren't we? Like, there's always something that one of us is great at.
Yes. And it's that playing to people's strengths. There's stuff that all of us have to do that we really hate. So for me, it's writing up notes and things like that. But actually, by trying to get a balance and supporting each other with the things we find difficult, even if it's things like going, do you want a cup of tea? Actually, as parent carers, how often do we get cups of tea made for us?
Yeah.
So sometimes things like that of going, look, all right, you obviously are procrastinating. The overwhelm is obviously really bad. There's something going on. Start it.
Yeah.
And one of our team, Helen, is brilliant for that as well, of going, right, actually, let's sit down. I'll help you chunk it.
I love that. Yeah. Chunking up, accountability, body doubles. All of those things are really, really helpful, aren't they? And they don't cost very much.
No, and actually it makes it enjoyable to be at work.
Yeah.
Because you're not feeling judged and your strengths are really appreciated. And I would hope that that's something that we do.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the ability to laugh at ourselves as, and each other as well. We're all a bunch of complete goofballs when we're in the office. But it's lovely to be there. because we can just laugh at each other and ourselves.
And actually, laughter is huge. Laughter is so important. I mean,
Because we don't get it a lot as carers
we
sometimes.
don't, and it really helps. We've got quite a dark sense of humour sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm really clumsy. You can guarantee I'm going to walk into something or knock something over. But actually, people don't judge it. They just go, and she's broken something again. Yes.
Hey,
Whereas me, I
Roxy.
just don't read properly and I end up going into the wrong Zoom call.
Roxy, we lost you earlier, but one of the questions I'd asked you earlier was, how do you see neurodiversity showing up when you're running the cafes or meeting parents? What kinds of things do you see in those environments?
I can definitely see that a lot of us parents with neurodivergent children are neurodivergent ourselves. Sometimes parents don't realise that they are, and I can recognise some of my own qualities in these other parents. And I just think that quite a lot of the time they come into the cafes and they're struggling with things their children might be doing, and they feel like they're the only ones. And I think it's so useful that they come in and that we all share our knowledge and how we're experiencing things ourselves. And they quite often go, "Oh my goodness, I thought I was the only one." And
That's a really important point. They feel so isolated, don't they?
Yeah. It's quite obvious for me because I've got a huge family with neurodivergence and a 100% ADHD rate in my family.
Well done.
I think, like, when I first started coming to the Parent Care Forum, I used to speak to Helen Yates, and she had a son that was around the same age as my eldest. And I didn't know, as I used to say all the time, there's so much I can get information for younger children, but older kids, I can't find anything. And she was just a fountain of knowledge for me. Oh, have you looked at this? Have you looked at that? And then I started going more often, and it was nice to have a conversation with somebody with the same sort of situation as mine. And I was like, she gets it. She knows what I'm going through. She's,
And we get that as feedback a lot. I think it's so good to talk to people that get it, that just get it, that you don't have to explain everything, and people who are happy to share share the pluses and sometimes the downsides, but we can help each other avoid some of the pitfalls. But we've also, you get really, really creative as a parent of a neurodivergent child, or when you are yourself. And that we all learn off each other, and it's really nice that we can share that with people.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
And we've always said, if it is that creative, if you need a way to get in, not everybody can do it. Well, we will find ways.
Yeah.
I think Roxy's is probably one of the most established cafes, and it is absolutely lovely to go there because everyone is so they're made to feel so at ease. Not that they aren't at the others. It's just that's one I go to quite a lot. So Tanya's raising her eyebrow at me because I haven't picked her nose.
So Roxy, what would be your tips? How have you made that environment and made people feel at ease?
I think I've always been good at communication, and that's one skill I've always had, part of my neurodivergence, actually. I don't know. I just really like people and trying to figure out the problems. So I always signpost. I'm quite good at retaining information. So Sendias is always my top one. A brilliant service for support. And, just being a listening ear and letting them talk is really important. Friends that don't have children that are neurodiverse don't understand. Even if they try to, they try and be supportive. They really don't know what we can go through sometimes. Just that's really what I do. And
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to ask one last question. If there's anything you'd like to share or any message that you want to get across to people about neurodivergence in parent-carer forums, what would you like to say? If I open the floor to you, is there anything you'd like to say as a final point before we finish?
Don't be ashamed of it.
Oh, that's so important. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely don't stay at home and go out and find other people.
Find your tribe, as they say.
Yeah, definitely, Tonya.
I've got a feeling I found a tribe here. I think you're a tribe. I think you've found each other. It's amazing. Thank you so much for talking to me. Hopefully this is going to help other people. This is going to help maybe stakeholders and professionals that work with parent-carer forums as well. We will round up now. If there's anything you wanted to say before I finish, go for it, Rachel.
Just one thing I will say is we're a fairly new forum in that we're only sort of four or so years old in this iteration.
Yeah.
We had such brilliant support from other forums, both the ones in the area and some slightly further away as well. So if any forums want to talk to us, they're very welcome. It's the most supportive type of organisation I have ever come across. So if you've got questions, you're welcome to contact us. If you're
incredible network, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is, and everybody has been. Yeah, South Gloss actually are one of the ones I have to, but Somerset. I'm going to forget people, so I can't name names because I'll forget, and then I feel really.
I will. And then they go, "You didn't mention me."
Exactly.
I didn't need it.
But is if you've got a question. Ask one of the other forums because people will have experience. And if you can go to the regional conferences or the national conferences ever, it's brilliant to have those opportunities to talk to people.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we've all got the same goal, haven't we? We're all here doing the same thing, and we just got to help each other.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Lean on each other and build each other up, really. You're not in competition.
Yeah. Also, don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Totally none of us have enough time. So, help each other, basically.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much. Thank you for tuning in to Start the Conversation. We hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and remember, conversations like these help us make a difference, one discussion at a time. If you have any topics you'd like us to cover, or if you'd like to be featured on the show, don't hesitate to reach out. Keep listening, keep learning, and keep the conversation going. Until next time, I'm Lucy. Take care.